Mic check, mic check. Can we hear me? Um, I know it's not exactly 4 yet, but I'm just doing some things right here first. Just prepping myself for today's class. So I'm going to be doing this in two examples. I'm going to be doing it just in case 2019 is giving me a problem. I'll be running it in 2018 as well. I'm doing literally the same thing for both projects. So what I'm doing, just to give you a background idea, I'm importing this winter environment texture. The reason why I'm importing this is because I need a scene that's complete right now, so that way I can show you the different lighting effects you can use for your scene and how they look and what they do. So this is just the example. Um, they're both loading right now, so just waiting on that before we can start. Let me see. Let me make sure my comms are all good. Sound is fine. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Okay, there we go. Hello? No, it's too loud. Hello? Hello? There we go. I like that. Okay. So yeah, this is writing, so just give it a moment. Now you are able to chat with me via YouTube or via our classroom. That's the best way to... Okay. Now let me just wait for this and then we'll begin. There might be a small chance my computer may crash, but we'll find out in just a minute. Do you have any trouble with the homework or making the terrain? How did that turn out? If you can make a you can make a small Google link and just link me a JPEG, that's fine. Or a couple JPEGs, that's cool too. Alright, did I get it going? Alright. So, what version? That's 2018. What version is this? 2019. Alright, same version as everybody else. Let me just close this out. We don't need that just yet. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload real quick. Sorry, I'm going to open a demo scene. This is part of that thing I just downloaded. So don't be like, oh my god, like it looks so good. Yeah, I'm just using it just because this is a great example of using the different kinds of lights. So let me show you something real quick. When I hit play, I just want you to know the style I'm going to be doing this at. I have to hold my right click mouse button to look around. So this lets me like fly through the different scene. So as you can see, this is what it looks like by default, but we're going to do a few different tweaks here. Let's just have it set there. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this directional light. Second thing I'm going to do, you don't have to copy me because generally speaking, if you have your own scene made out, it won't look like this. This is just what their settings were. So I got rid of the sun source, and then I'm going to go to skybox material, and I'm going to get rid of that. So let me just show you what I did. Essentially what I did was I'm removing all the light that this scene came with already. So we're going to just restart everything. First things first. Your light settings can be found under Window. Let me zoom in. Did I make it work? Okay. It will be found right here under Window, General, Rendering, Lighting Settings. Click that. and you'll see skybox material none. So what I did was originally the skybox is everything outside of your scene. So let me show you an example of what one looks like. Here is a default skybox. Notice how that changed. See? And then let me show you another one. Usually they're named demo scene skybox 1. See, there's different ones. But for now, let's just turn it off. We don't need this. And then the sun source, the light. So what they mean by that is the directional light, and we're gonna get into that later. So let's see what we have available. Actually, before we do that, let's look at this. Your main camera is also going to play a role in your lighting, because you have your different backgrounds on the right hand side and your different settings right here. So for this example, notice how it says the clear flags. It means what your background source is going to be. In this case, the skybox. But I don't have a skybox, so it goes off the background. And notice this one's blue. Watch me change it to black. You can do it to white. For this example, I'm just going to turn it to black. You can also change the clear flag to solid color. It's the same thing. But these two don't really dive into. They'll mess with your camera, and you actually won't be able to get anything. These are some more different settings. I actually don't mess with them too much. I leave it as is. The only thing I would add, if I have it, would be the post-processing, but it might not work for this Unity. So let's just leave it at that for right now. Right now, our scene has no light whatsoever. As we can look around, the only light that's available is actually, there is a little bit of light left, but hang tight. We will fix that in just a second. So back in our light settings, we can change the intensity multiplier. Sorry, not that one. It is... hang tight. It's one of these, pardon me. I'll get back to it. But anyhow, our scene has virtually no light in it. So the different kinds of lights can be found over here under your game object. You have your directional light, which is generally used as the sun. We have our point light, which is more of like it's like a small ball that it's like kind of like a small sun, but not as intense. And you can change the range to make it grow bigger, light, smaller. We have our spotlight, which is kind of like our flashlight. It's going to be like a cone. And then our area light, which I've seen this a few times, but I can't naturally explain it. It's like part of like, it's like when an object, imagine if you're like one of those ceiling lights when you're looking up and you see like the rectangle, the cylinder bulb. That's kind of what it's going for. It's like a specific object of the light. But in this example, we'll be dealing with just the first three, none with the area light. So let's take a look at spotlight. Let's put one in our scene. Let me make sure. Let's look. So a spotlight is kind of like it has these properties. We have the type, which is, this is how you can change your light. If instead of adding a new one, you can change it from directional, point, or area. We have a range, which, sorry, let me do that so you can see both. We have our range, which increases how far the light reaches. Then we have our spot angle, which increases how big, let's call it the cookie of the flashlight, right? And then we have our color. You can always change any color of your light. Notice I'm changing it a different color. And then you can change the mode, which generally speaking, keeping it on real time is probably the best. And then intensity. So intensity is always set to 1. 1 is your default value. And you can change the intensity, and notice how bright it gets, almost to the point where this light is unbearable for the human eye, if you were to look at it. That's what that kind of does right there. So let's just put that back to 1. Shadow type. So let's say that your light is going to give some kind of object. This is going to be really bad because it's zoomed in. But let's say you want this light to give something shadow. Let's see what that looks like. Let's do a hard shadow. See? Notice that a shadow appeared there. You can change it from soft shadow. So these shadow types are really contingent on your computer. So you would definitely want to mess with your settings to find the best shadow for your object. So that way you can get the right type of effect going. Cookie, that's basically like, it's meant for really like flashlights. This is the type of like a design that a light will give off. Notice, see, I'm just going through different kinds that my program gave me. Pardon me. So those usually I just leave as none, unless you have like a flashlight and then you want to make that your light, so you can do that. We have, what else here? Draw halo. That kind of, notice at the bottom, see at the bottom, this right here became like all like a big poof. That's what that does. Flare. This won't work unless your main camera has a flare lens, and to do that you got to go to add component, flare lens, flare layer, I believe, and just leave it at that. Now let's go back to our spotlight and let me add a flare. Most cases you should have one. Oh, I don't have one. They're easy to obtain, but you would put that in here, and then think of like if you're looking at a projector or the sun. Notice how there'd be like a little gleam. It would almost like refract light. That's what that would do. So this so these right here, from color and down, generally speaking, don't change when you're working with lights. So you saw the spotlight. I'll leave that there just for an example so you can see. I'm just going to copy and paste this and move it over. Now I'm going to change the spotlight to a point light. And let me just lower the range just so you can see. Now notice this light. This light's a little bit different. This light is more in a sphere. Sorry, oops. Let's move it somewhere else so we can see. So the way this works is the more it's kind of like it goes off the range and intensity. So let's say, for example, this intensity is set to 3. I'm just going to set it to 1. Let me just set this to 1. It won't let me for some reason. Okay, cool. There we go. I don't know why that's doing that. Okay. So, and then let's set the range to 1. So this is a 1-to-1 right now ratio. If I change this to 2, wow, it goes off the way that the range and intensity works. So if I set this to 10, right? Oops. Sorry, my keypad's being weird. Notice how it works out, right? So it's kind of dependent on the range of the light. Oh my god. Here we go. The more I open up, the more light that comes out of this sphere. But they do get conflicted when you add it next to other ones of the point light. So just be mindful how you use these. These are actually one of my favorites because you can get some really awesome light if you know how to use it. Just put something really damp like that, and always watch. The reason why the light is so high on the bottom is it's close to the floor, but you could always move it up. Doesn't that look good? It's got some soft shadows. Maybe we can put no shadows for this example. See? So that's pretty straightforward. These are the type of lights you would use for maybe, let's say, like a building or certain objects. Now, the more tricky one of these two is the directional light, which I saved for last. So in this case, I'm just going to turn these two off. Now you can see the difference. Spotlight right here has the cone, whereas the point light, I don't know why it says spotlight, but it should say point light. Oh, it's because I copy and pasted spotlight. That's right. But this is a point light. You can tell that by going up here to see point. Now let's close these. I'm just going to get rid of these two real quick. Now let's take a look at the directional light. This one's more fun to play with. So I'm going to go to light, add directional light. Notice how my whole scene lights up. Let's take a look. Notice my background is still black because I set it that way. But the whole scene is lit up, which is good. But we can mess around with this light some more. So what I like to do is let's set the light a little bit more darker. Notice that you can change different color. You can make it any color you want. Whoa. It's pretty crazy. Let's lower it. So you can mess with the light here. The same thing with intensity and all that applies. But the difference with the directional light is this. Let me just set it to default. Let's set it to white for right now. Is when you go to your rendering and your lighting settings, your environment needs a sun source. Generally speaking, that's your directional light. So what you want to do is click and drag your directional light into the sun source light right here. This now will become the light of your game. And it generally affects everything the way you would expect it to. But we can take it up a notch. Oops, sorry. What am I clicking? Okay. Let's go back to this. So now that you have this in here, you can mess with, pardon me, let me see something real quick. There's one setting I'm looking for, pardon me. It lets you change how much of the light is being affected. Just give me 1 second. It's sometimes these settings change. Let me see what it looks like on the 2018 version, because this one's I'm a little bit familiar with. Environment reflections. This right here. See, environment lighting, source, skybox, intensity multiplier. Okay, let's see. What do I have here? Environment lighting, skybox. Still, it doesn't allow me. Interesting. See, this is what's different about certain aspects of the programs. How certain settings can be here and not. So in that previous setting, you can change the way, like, yes, it'll be dark, but you can change how much light the person sees, which is really awesome. Let me see the fog. Can we change that? Is there any more fog to this? Okay. Anyhow. So that's how you can work with your light. One thing I would say to look into is skyboxes, as each skybox has a different layout. Let's just put that one back just to see. Maybe the setting will come back. Okay. See, there it is. See, intensity multiplier. So if you have a skybox, let me go down here. if you have a skybox, you can change the intensity of the light. For example, I'm going to set it to, let's just set it to 0.0.25. There we go. And then let's change the light to, I don't know, a little bit red. Notice that I can change the intensity of this light. I like it to keep it dark because then it gives like a eerie vibe. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so we know how to work with our light. We know a little bit about our camera, but how do we what are some things we can do all together? Let me introduce you to one of my favorite tools, the animator tool. This is where things are going to get fun. I think it's animation. Yes, the animation. It looks like this. Okay? What I normally do with it is I drag it and I connect it to the game tab right here. This is where things get crazy. Alright, so let's take a look. Let's say, I'm just going to, for the first example, I'm going to use a cube for you. Alright? Here's a cube. Let's lower it just a little bit, ground level. So if you want to animate any object, and remember, an object is anything that is on, anything that is in your hierarchy, right? What you want to do is first get that animation tab like we did, and we put it here. You can do that one more time. I'll show you. Go to Window, Animation, and choose Animation, or Control-6 is the hotkey. And you'll see this screen. Next, we want to choose what we want to animate. In this case, I want to animate the cube. And what I'm going to do next, you'll see when it's selected, it'll say create. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, what we're creating here is an animation clip. I'm going to name this clip rotate, for example. Now my friends that are learning script, there are two ways. See, what I'm doing now is avoiding the script part of scripting it, and instead I'm animating it. So what I'm doing here, we have an animation ready. Now we need to add a property to it. What are we going to animate here? In this case, when you click add property, you have transform, mesh render, and box collider. For what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do transform, and I'm going to choose rotate. And it creates us what they're called a key. And this key, I don't know how many frames it is. 60 frames right now. But between this frame and this frame, it's going to do something. Right now, nothing. See, if I click play, it does nothing. But what you want to do, if you want to animate it, what I do is, and I'm going to show you the step. It's going to take you a while to get, but it's so much fun once you get it. We're going to click the record button. 0 is our default starting position. We're not going to do anything here unless you want to change how the position looks. What I'm going to do then, I'm going to zoom out. I still have this selected. Notice that the rotation turns red. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this line. I'm just going to click here, and it comes over here. And I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to change this to 180. So what I just did is between here at 0, 0, it's hard to see, and 60 seconds, the cube is going to rotate a full 180 degrees. Now let's take a look at how that looks. Notice that I just rotated it. And it's perfectly going to rotate every time. And even when I hit play, notice that the cube is rotating. It will always rotate. Okay. So the next step. What if we want to make this cube slow? Like, hey, you know, it's moving too fast. Well, this is what we do. Over here on your cube, when you create an animation, it creates a thing called an animator. And in that animator is, oh my God, what's the word for it? It's got a play, what is it called? It's got a animation clip. Sorry, that's what it's called. And then on the inside, it has the actual movement, which is this. Notice that the speed is set to. So sorry, I'm sorry. I did something. I did something way out of. I went out of step. Let's start from the top. To find out how to do it, you gotta first. Sorry, to change the speed of your animation, You don't do it through the animator right here. You have to click your object, this being, for our example, the cube. We're going to go down to the bottom right, and you're going to see a thing called animator. Every time you create an animation for whatever object it is, they're going to make you an animator thing. Double click the cube on the inside, and it takes you to this screen, which is called the animator. Notice this is called the animation. This is called the animator. And you see these little buttons. These are states, as they call them. And right now, when you hit play, it's going to automatically go to what? Rotate. So, that being said, if you want to rotate, sorry, you already have it to rotate. But now let's look at your speed. This is your animation clip. And I want you to take a look. When you click it, you have a thing called loop pose. Loop pose means, like, let's say, for example, you don't want it to skip a beat when it comes to rotating it, right? You want it to be perfectly looped. It's going to make sure that the animation doesn't, like, skip a beat, almost like a GIF. You ever see that one animation where that kid walks into the room, he sees himself, closes the door? That's kind of what that loop pose means. So let's just click it, and let's look at what happens. See? It's perfectly... I know it's hard to see because it's a cube, and it's always going to be perfect no matter how it rotates, but it just rotates more smoother. So let's go back to this scene. Here we have our rotate. And our rotate has a speed of what? Set to 1. 1 is my way of finding the default. 1 is absolute, aka a 100%. So if you want to see it slow down to 25%, you would do this. You would type 0.25. And let's hit play and watch it. Notice that it is slowed down significantly. We can even try doing this. 0.1. Let's see this now. Sorry, I move really quick, but once you get the steps, it's like you're gonna move quick too. You see, it's moving a lot slower. So, what if you wanted to add another animation? Actually, hold on. Yeah, let's say you wanted to add another animation. What we're gonna do is... Actually, no, we're not gonna do that. But that's how you animate the cube. But what about something like the lights? What do we have here? What if you want to animate the lights? So let's just click the light. Let's click animation. Let's click create. Let's name this sun rotation. Doesn't really matter what you name it as long as you know where to find it. And what we're going to do is hit this button right here. And then I'm going to just change one thing. Doesn't matter what I click, it's automatically going to register that. So for this case, I chose the light intensity. Let's just set it to 1 because that's exactly what it starts as, 1. Oh, my number pad's not working. There we go. Let's set that to 1. And then by the time it gets to here, let's set it to 0. Oops. There we go. Let's see what happens when I hit play. So the light turns off. But our animation's set to recording. So what could we do here? We can go to animator, sun rotation. Should be actually sun intensity, but you know. And let's set this speed to, again, 0.1, just to get it slow. And that way you can see how, notice the lights going darker, almost kind of like we're doing, like it's nighttime in our game. Which I'm sure, there might be a way that you can speak with Jacob on how to script that in, but notice that we have our light and it's changing, making things darker. And you can animate most objects. Let me give this a try on the 2019. I want to see how we can do 2 play motions. Let's see. No, that wouldn't work. Okay, so if you want to make two movements for the same thing, you have to create another animator controller. So let's do game object. Wait, let's find it. Is there a way to easy? Um, let's name this animation. No. No, we're not gonna do that. Let's see. So we got. What else can we do? So. Yes, the camera. What am I thinking? So, cameras can also be animated, and this is one of my favorite things we can do. So let's click our camera. Let's click create. Let's name it camera pan. And what we're going to do here is we're going to add property, and we're going to add the transform position one. And after we do that, let's hit our record button. And right now, our camera is set here, our default position. Let me click it to the here. And basically what I'm saying is right here, I want our camera to start where it is. But when it's over here, I want the camera to move up and then over. So watch this. When we hit play now, actually, I'll hit play right now just so you can see. It's going to be really fast. See, that's really fast. But we know how to change our speed, right? With the camera selected, let's go down to controller, main camera, camera pan, and change the speed to, as you know, probably 0.1 or any speed you want. But me, I like putting it very slow. Now watch this. So now we kind of have a cinematic camera going, right? And we have the lights changing. It's in some sense we are storytelling. So see, it's gonna loop, but you can always change how long. Okay, we can also do this. So let's say like, okay, I want more than 60 seconds. So I want to add I want the whole, I want a whole pattern of movements. So here's what we do. Click over here, and then the camera will actually move there because it's in animation mode. And then you can also do this. Add another property, rotate. So the rotate's fine now, but when we're here, I want the camera to rotate. What is that, 0? 0. Let's see what that looks like. All the effects are still going on that we had before. But yes, we have it rotated, but then hold on, let me just make this lower. We got to change the frames to make it say 120. Now we have more frames, I believe. Hold on. Why is this not letting me do it? You have to just click it if you want to. There you go. So we're at 1 minute here, but at 2 minutes, hit that the record button. It's looking where that way, and then I want it to move right here, maybe up. All right, that's cool with me. Let's see what happens. So now I am doing a whole camera flyby thing like effect. And this is good if you want to storytell or use for your main screen. You can change the speeds to be even slower than that. You can make it 0.001, and it's barely gonna move. Actually, no, that's too slow. Don't have time for that. 0.0175. Remember, these are fractions. Yeah, still kind of slow. Then let me show you another method of animating. So some of your objects, you're like, well, what if I wanna, okay, let's do this. I'm gonna copy and paste my cubes. So I have 4 cubes. And then what I'm gonna do is create an empty. I'm gonna put so you can animate empties as well. And here's what I'm gonna do. Here's our 4 cubes. I'm gonna put all these cubes inside my empty. And then I'm gonna go create an animation. I'm gonna name this rotating. And what I can do is I'm just gonna click this, but it's not gonna be 1, it's gonna be 0. I just needed to get there quick. I don't feel like doing the whole button clicking here. So, and let's change this to 180. So, generally speaking, when yes. So let's watch this. So now, notice that, oh, I'm sorry, that's kind of animated right now, but here, hold on 1 minute. Let me just do it like that. Okay. Notice that my empty now is rotating, and then the objects inside of it are also rotating because I have an animation to that. So you can do more than one, and then so the reason why I say you can animate an empty is because sometimes our objects don't react a certain way, so it's just better if we put it inside an empty, a game object as they call it, or empty. Yeah, I call it an empty. You can do it like that. Let's see, what else can I teach you today on these topics, that is. You could animate lights, you know how to, I mentioned that. Do you have any questions? I'm actually tapped out as far as this lesson goes, to the person watching. Does everything make sense? Is there anything you would like me to go over? Let me show you some cool examples on how to work with skyboxes. So you can type skybox in here. Choose free. Let's get something for free. Choose Starfield. Why not? Hit all, import all these. Just wait for it to load. This can take a while sometimes. So if you want to add a skybox that you just downloaded, right? All you have to do is go to Window, General, sorry, Rendering, Lighting Settings. Then just drag and drop skybox in here. Boom. Just like that. Let's take a look. Oh, we have a beautiful night sky. Let me turn the animation off this. Oops. Let's take a look at what it looks like. Oh, hold on a minute. Let's see if we can see the sky. Nope. Oh, do you know why? Our camera. There we go. Make sure if your camera is not set to skybox, you're not going to see it. Look at that. Oh, it looks great. So with that, you have the basic tools right now to start at least building a more intricate level. It just takes a lot of time because you want to find all your materials and find all the things that um, low video output. Yeah. So if you have any questions, just let me know by emailing me or contacting me via the classroom. This is about it for all our classes, as this is the last class of our summer. I don't even know what to call it, but if you have any questions regarding any of the material I went over, you are free to contact me via email. I will type that in real quick on the screen. It is that is the way to contact me if you have any questions. I do thank you for joining me and learning Unity. This is a good refresher for me, knowing that I'm stuck with 2018, but now trying 2019. It's a little bit different. So I thank you for following along, and if you have any questions, feel free to message me via that email. Thanks, and have a good day.